just gonna sit right here and just.
Oh, thank you.
I got a pen.
Thank
so
you.
I'm gonna just go click, click.
Yeah.
Will that be okay?
Oh my God. Maybe chew some gum.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little wrapper.
Yeah, some hard candies maybe. That'll be good.
Oh, that happens.
It's kind of like the bleeping out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It pretty much is.
Actually, I'm gonna sit over here because I like having the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I miss you. Oh yeah, let's just.
You got the red memories. Do you have a vanilla bean? Oh, this one's special. Oh yeah.
Not in this one.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee of the Stratford Public Schools to order. My name is Kristen Bedell, and I'm the Finance Committee Chair, and we do have a quorum this evening. At this time, I'd like to take a second to acknowledge the immense amount of work that goes behind the analysis and the planning of the itemized estimate of expenditures. I'd like to thank Ms. Borges and Ms. Mangini and their teams for answering our questions over the past couple of weeks, working with the Finance Committee and the town to gather all of the information necessary to provide the best decisions we can. We realize that the energy in the room tonight and in the town right now is a little bit charged, and we are working together to find solutions to a very difficult endeavor. It is clear that no reductions or cuts for our school system are any good. I am first and foremost a parent in this town, and anything less than all that our children get is a disservice. And we all believe that up here. We as a community need to be mindful of all the factors involved in the complexity of our school budget and of the town of Stratford, in size, in service needs, and all the necessities of our school system. Over the next few months, while this process plays out, and it is a process, we will get more information about additional funding sources such as grants and ECS funding and the Alliance District and any other grants that may come our way, and we'll work hand in hand with the administration, with Ms. Borges, with Ms. Mangini, their teams, to come up with the best possible outcomes for our students and staff. We hope that all of you do continue to follow along and voice your opinions, but take the time to understand this is a process, and we will get there together. We have worked diligently together thus far and continue to do so. We put a lot of faith in our administration, and we will continue to do that to work within the parameters that we set as a board and as a town. And we're going to get there eventually. This is not the end of the road. This is a long process. Ms. Borges, do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I would like to add is, originally we put our 6-6 forward because we believe that we value our staff, and that was a presentation to you that removed some ESSER funds but did keep all of our union membership intact and not add any new initiatives. And I know and understand that with the ESSER cliff that it is a really difficult thing, but I want to make sure that you are aware that, just like you just said, any cuts to our district will impact kids. We will always do the best. Stratford always does the best they possibly can, no matter what is put forward. But any cuts do impact us, and I do believe that our team has provided this group of Finance Committee with everything you would need to make the best recommendations. Every request you have asked has been given, different scenarios have been given, impact statements have been given, so you have everything you need in front of you in order to make the best recommendation possible. I ask that, to the best of your ability, try not to micromanage the decisions we have to make with the dollar amount you put forward, and allow us to do the hard work that we need to do in order to meet the need that you think is appropriate in dealing with our current ESSER cliff.
Thank you. Now I'm going to, the first item on our agenda is the proposed itemized estimate of expenditures, excuse me. And I don't really think we have any further presentations to be made. Ms. Mangini, do you have anything to add?
No, you do have all the information in your books. We started at 6.69%, providing you with that overview that honestly we could have been at 11.48 to start. But at this point, you do have that itemized proposal at 6.69%.
Okay, given that, I'd like to open up the floor to the committee for discussion. Does anybody have any comments or discussion?
Madam Chair, just to, typically we make a motion to approve and then open up the discussion from there. So I would like to start by just saying, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 6.69% budget proposed by Ms. Borges and her team.
Second?
I'll second that.
Discussion, please.
Excuse me, Ms. Reno, can you please repeat that motion for me, please?
So just to do it in the proper manner, we would first make the motion to approve and then amend it as see fit. So I made a motion. Now the floor is open to discussion. So, and if nobody else has comments, then I'm prepared to speak.
Ms. Lance?
I have to agree with what Ms. Borges said about how difficult this is this year for each and every one of us sitting up here making these decisions. And I fully believe, as a former teacher, as a former board member, and a former SEA president, that the budget would not have been proposed at 6.6 if that is not the funds that we needed to have the district continue on at the same way it's been going. Unfortunately, as Dr. Borges said, we have the ESSER funds that we have to worry about this year that, in my opinion, should have been added back every single year and not just waited until the end. So my only comment is I think that what Ms. Bedell said, that we all need to work together as a group to try to come to the best possible solution we can possibly come to, because even though we send a number over to the town tonight, I'm not sure if that's the number that's going to come back from the town. So we have some pretty serious work to do, and everybody on this committee can add to this, and if we all work together and with the administration and others, I think we can do it.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Hunter.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the original motion. We've had a number of discussions. Ms. Borges has presented us some scenarios. We've had some very long and deep conversations about where we can be more efficient and more productive. We have had our original ask at this moment with the $3 million from the Alliance grant and the 4.1 million, we're possibly 4.1. If we tie those all together, that ask is significantly, but everybody needs to remember that that $3 million in the Alliance grant is also part of our funding. So, you know, we're probably, if we took the 6.9 out of the 3 million, we're probably about 8-9%. So, as we've been talking about, we need to make some discussions. So, based on those discussions, I wanted to read through a list of reductions that I'd like to propose as amendments. I'll read through the entire list, and I'll start at the top. $75,000 estimated additional retirement savings based on known intents, February 21, 2024. $400,000 reduced science and reading funding for FY25. Can use Alliance ESSER funding. $14,470 reduced district textbooks accounts for geometry books already entered by high schools in their budgets. $8,500 reduced special ed supplies to return to level funding. $8,360 reduce all office supply accounts back to level funding. $75,000 eliminate one district floater secretary. $68,864 eliminate 3 greeter positions. $148,820 eliminate 2 FTE elementary assistant principals, salaries and benefits. $150,000 eliminate 2 FTE high school library teachers. We will add media tutors. $548,800 eliminate 7 elementary library teachers. We'll add media tutors. $203,500 eliminate 3.7 math coaches. $35,000 estimated benefits. $836,000 eliminate 15.2 reading coaches with $185,000 in estimated benefits. And our hopes that some of these will be reallocated through Alliance District funding. Eliminate $150,000, 2.0 FTE supervisors, salaries and benefits. $240,000 account 504, and this would be the entire Alpha program. $240,000 account 5041, 4.1 FTEs. $60,000 account 530 CIAs. $60,000 0550 SW. $30,000 climate specialist. $60,000 supervisor coordinator. $130,000 benefits for 9 FTEs. In addition, $300,000 to reduce the substitute line item, and these are just items that we felt were overfunded throughout the years. $75,000 reduce workers' comp. $75,000 reduce account 3000757 for superintendent designated services. $23,500 reduce account 5900758 for workshops. $50,000 reduce non-certified subs line item. $50,000 reduce professional development, object code 300. $20,000 reduce utilities. $50,000 reduce instructional supplies 611. $15,000 reduce office supplies 690. $10,000 reduce custodial supplies. $75,000 reduce educational outplacement, reduce special education out of district placements, and $40,500 to reduce special ed clinical costs, which is a total reduction of $4,271,314, bringing the total ask to $4,090,471. So I'd make a motion to amend as presented. And I think that was, did I make that motion? Great.
And I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Hendrick and seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any discussion?
Is there a copy of that, so that extensive list that we could review rather than trying to keep track of it number by number?
I believe it was emailed out to the entire board.
Was not.
No.
Okay, well, we can provide you a list.
Mr. Pugh, email it? Would that be?
Can you, is that on? Yeah. To the question about the math coaches and the reading, you mentioned those could be moving over to Alliance.
Could possibly be moved through Alliance. I
Is
would
it Ms.
leave that to this board.
Is that?
As an Alliance district, intervention is vitally important. So if that was a cut that was made here, we would have to look at Alliance in order to provide intervention for our students.
So it's possible.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Please keep in mind, we don't have our Alliance dollars yet.
As I discussed, as I mentioned, there's a process to this for the new individuals up here. There are a lot of grants and funding and things that have not been decided yet or come in yet, and we need to look at that process as we go through the next couple of months. Any other discussion?
Question? Mrs. Mangini, what percentage increase does all of that bring us to?
Brings us to a,
We can't hear you down there.
I'm sorry.
Couldn't hear the question.
I asked what percentage increase does all of those cuts bring us to?
That is a 3.27% increase to the existing budget for fiscal year '24, or an increase of $4,090,471.
Any further questions or discussion?
I have more. It is common, I acknowledge that, for a Board of Education to review and adjust the budget proposed by professionals. Pam, Heather are our professionals. However, boards typically aim to support the core of the proposed budget, recognizing the value of the professionals' recommendations. Yet the current situation of our district is anything but typical. Certain committee members appear focused on significantly reducing the proposed budget without fully understanding the consequences. This approach undermines the expertise and hard work of our professional team and puts the well-being of our educational community at risk. And I apologize for the disrespect to both of you. When we compare our district to other districts in our DIRG, such as Bristol, East Haven, Plainfield, Putnam, and Vernon, we see that they either accepted the superintendent's recommendation as is or made minor adjustments, often by just 0.16 of a percentage point. The same is true with our neighboring towns, Fairfield, Shelton, Milford, Trumbull. They all closely aligned with the recommendations of their trusted professionals. As board members, elected to represent the children of this town, it is our responsibility to understand and explain the importance of the budget. We should be advocating for the resources needed to maintain the quality of education our district deserves. Our main goal is to ensure our educational community's needs are met and our district continues to thrive. So please, don't feign sympathy and concern for students and staff, because if you did, you would not propose budget cuts that would inevitably harm our ability to provide the necessary resources and support for success. It's time to prioritize the well-being and educational needs of our students and staff. Supporting budget cuts that would compromise their success is contradictory to that goal.
I would remind this board and this community, not too long ago, our superintendent presented a budget. The council took $2.5 million out of that budget, and we closed that gap by using the superintendent's word, re-engineered to find better efficiencies. And at the end of that year, we had a $3.5 million surplus. We overestimated our costs by $6 million. I also will remind this community that we've recently ended or are ending our ESSER funds, $25 million in a 3-year period that produced little to no results. We also, over the last 2 years, have had approximately $3 million worth of Alliance District grants. But year after year, our test scores continue to go down. What we're doing is not working. What we need to do is redesign the system so we can provide better resources for our children. If you think our test scores and our progresses are what our children deserve, then I would disagree with you. I think they deserve better. Our curriculum is in woeful shape and needs to be changed. Our leadership is failing our students. We have staff who want to support and teach our children, but we're not giving them the tools they need. And if we continue to do the same thing we've always done, our test scores will continue to decline. If money was the problem, the $28 million in grants we've received in the last 3 years would have fixed it. If we don't find a better way and a more efficient way to do what we're doing, we will continue to decline. We will stay stuck in this Alliance District grant for as far as the eye can see. It's time to do things differently, and unless leadership takes charge, we will continue to decline. So I am supporting these children, and I'm saying status quo is not good enough. It's time to change, it's time to work with all the parties involved, and it's time to put forward a product that works.
Mr. Cormier?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to dispute the consistent comment that we finish our year every year with a surplus. The professionals in the room have explained it over and over at these meetings why we finished with a surplus. And the question is asked at sometimes 2 and 3 times during the meeting. We have the surplus because of positions that can't be filled. Those are dollars that have to stay in our budget and ready for us to use should we be able to fill those positions. If we can't fill those positions because of the lack of personnel available at the moment, then those dollars have to go back. Our job is not to function in the red. So we are supposed to function in the black. If we don't need to use those funds, yes, they do go back and it becomes a surplus. That's the first one. Number 2, our performance in English and language arts in K-6 in the last 3 years has increased by about 7%. So saying that this is failing is outrageous. We're not failing. We are not making widgets where we are expecting a huge return on investment in a product within 12 to 18 months, as if we are a business, because we are not a business. So those are my comments. That's my response to your comments.
I just want to talk a little bit more about the surplus. When we return the surplus to the town, that money is supposed to go into an educational reserve fund, but then we never hear any more about it. Can't that money be reinvested and used for our students?
So as far as the Educational Reserve Fund goes, there is a process to that. There is a request process and discussion process. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that process is currently being followed for last year's. The audits have to be completed. There's a lot that goes into that process.
Okay, and then last year in November, I believe it was, when there was a vote on the Educational Reserve Fund, whether we should submit that letter to the town. I was not currently on the board, but some of the current board members that are sitting up here did not want to use that money to return to the schools, and I just don't really understand why. If we're really talking about investing in our children, that would go back to our children.
In a very limited form.
But the taxpayers are paying this money for our children, so we should use it for them.
We could have. Are there any further questions or comments?
I would just like to, Mrs. Mangini, can you clarify the question asked by Ms. D'Angelo Powers regarding the surplus and how that?
I'm just going to repeat what I've said on numerous occasions. When we have a year-end balance, we've explained the rationale. It's been the last few years that I've been here primarily as a result of positions that have gone unfilled. And as I spoke about just a few months back, it's actually not just a Stratford problem and just not a state problem, but a national problem. And of course, when we have salaries, available funds in salaries for positions unfilled, we have corresponding benefits. When we give money back to the town, I think the most important part of this discussion is for everyone to recognize that those dollars do in fact go back to the town. Boards of Education cannot hold on to those dollars, which is why you have to have your budget in the black and you can't go in the red. The Education Reserve Fund was established my first year here, which was the summer of 2020. And it did in fact indicate that after the town audit is complete and within the third accounting period following the close of the year, that the town council could make an appropriation. And we have asked in the past, and it hasn't been made. And of course, again, I've said this many times as well, having been a town finance director, I do look at both sides. And if the town simply does not have the monies available, perhaps some of their departments were overspent or their revenue numbers were not matched at how the budget was set, they may not have those dollars available. And that is what we were told of the last few years. Now with the significant amount last year of $2 million, we did submit a request again as a Board of Education back in the fall, and we were asked to please resubmit it because there was going to be a new council and a new board. And that's where we're at, but I also happen to know, just recently discovered that the town's audit is not complete yet either, so there is some time that we probably will have to wait at least until April.
Thank you. Mr. Chia?
Yeah, Pam, thank you for adding to that. There was a request in full disclosure submitted to us, I believe, end of October, let's just say. And I did receive that request, I did verify, and I was, the town audit had not been completed, so that's why we didn't act on it from the end of October to the beginning of December when that was done.
And again, you said the audit was not complete as of
They normally are by December 31st, but an extension was requested by the town, so it is not yet complete.
Mr. Hendrick?
And again, just in response to the surplus, we did a year ago transfer and spend down about 1.5 million of that surplus, bringing us down to about 2 million. I had suggested that we encumber or use some of those funds to pay for the reading of science program curriculum that was coming up, and was told we couldn't do that. But I do believe that this board should not have surpluses, and that we should spend those monies towards our students. And we attempted to do that 2 years ago, and we got part way there, and we'll continue to do it, hopefully. So, but I don't think the board should ever give a surplus back to the town.
Mr. Pia?
Madam Chair, thank you. So I'll just give my perspective on it, as I've said, and this is the way I've approached this from the last 6 years, is it's okay to look at numbers of any budget, whether it's your personal budget, your business, or a municipal budget, or a Board of Ed budget, and try to improve efficiencies. That's okay. And if that's the truest intent of the people doing it, then that's a good thing. What I'll say is over the next couple months, Ms. Bedell mentioned it, we're going to have a lot of variables still in the air. Everybody in this room has seen this for the last X amount of years that you've worked here or been involved, right? We're trying to identify the exact number from ECS in the state. That usually comes in April, give or take a few weeks. Please don't hold me to that, right? We have retirements, we have state funding through Alliance and ESSER, through Alliance and the ECS. We have grants, all right? And we may run a surplus at the end of the year. So all of those things, whether it's $15 or $15,000 or 1.5, because we didn't hire some people, and that's okay too. The point is, there's a few months of this, and I'll tell you right now, you have a great new town council over there that wants to work well about this, all right? Across the aisle, this shouldn't be a partisan issue, all right? But it's okay for people to say, we want to streamline this down a little bit and see where it comes back, because they may kick it back and say, here's what you get, here's what you're getting based off all the new cash coming in from the state. And then all of this may be for nothing. So no one should take that this is the final thing, because it's not. We're probably 3 months out from the final thing. And there's still a lot in flux, and that's what I'll say to that.
Thank you, Mr. Pam.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Carol Fabian?
I have a question for Mrs. Mangini. I'm just curious, how much variable there will be in those numbers that Mr. Henrik mentioned? Will it make up for the $4 million that you just cut?
Are you referring to what Mr. Pia was just talking about, variables in the grants? I would say that we are awaiting the Alliance grant final number, and that is contingent on the education cost sharing, because now the town of Stratford doesn't get that increase. It goes directly into our Alliance grant, but we were given an estimate, and this proposal was built partially with the belief that those funds will come through. The variables that I think Mr. Pia is referring to and Mr. Henrik alluded to, we certainly could get a lot more retirements. The teachers union has to tell us by April 1 where they can't rescind. We have taken some of those savings already, and we are pretty set on insurances, so I don't see that changing. I don't think there are a significant number of variables in my opinion, but I do think Mr. Pia may have been also referring to the town's revenue, and possibly that the town may be willing to provide additional funding to the Board of Ed, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mr. Pia. So I think that's what you're also saying as far as a variable.
Any further comments? Discussion? Mr. O'Brien?
I just want to make a comment and commend Acting Superintendent Borges, Chairman Hendrick, and many staff and board members for working together and creating an atmosphere of cooperation that we haven't seen in recent years. And remember, this is just a roadmap, this budget, and I'm confident many of the things we're saying have to be eliminated tonight will not actually be eliminated once we get the full information and all the funding needed.
There's no further comments. We'll take a roll call vote.
Point of order.
I'm sorry?
Chair, point of order.
Yes.
This is listed as a special meeting, correct?
It is a special meeting. Yes.
So per the Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-225, no other business shall be considered at such meeting by such public agency. As this is a special meeting, the agenda cannot be amended, and there is no item for action on this agenda.
Ms. Biddle, if I may, again, and I'm not acting in a legal capacity. What Ms. Fabian Carroll did say is accurate.
Carol Fabian.
Carol Fabian, excuse me, my apologies. I don't know if a motion, an amendment to a motion, I don't believe falls under that statement, but I do agree with what you said from the Connecticut General Statute. I do. I don't know if you have Board of Ed attorneys to interpret that or not.
I don't know if Floyd is.
Like I said, I don't believe that would cover or prohibit a motion to amend, but you cannot amend an agenda. She is correct in that for a special.
Would the motion fall under discussion and recommendations? The recommendation, what we're looking to do is make a recommendation to the full board based on the number. So I would, and I agree, and I commend Ms. Carol Fabian for her astutness, but this board makes recommendations to the full board. What we're looking to do is make a recommendation, and that recommendation would be made through a motion. And this is why I put attorney's report on our board agenda, because when we come to questions like this, it would be helpful to have an attorney. My belief is that we make recommendations to the board. This motion, all recommendations come through a motion and a vote of the committee. So It is my belief, and it would be my opinion, that the motion made would fall under recommendation.
Ms. Borges?
I don't know, I'm thinking with my special education hat on, is it possible for you guys to take a recess and make a phone call to the attorney?
We can do that, yes.
Madam Chair, make a motion for recess?
We'll take a 10-minute recess. See if we can make a call. We're going to call this meeting back to order at 6:37 p.m. Mr. Henrik was able to have a conversation with our attorneys.
So the committee does act by recommendation. Recommendations are on the agenda. I would only, just for clarification, make a motion to recommend to the full board the budget as amended.
Okay, so motion amended by Mr. Henrik and seconded by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Okay, we're gonna go forward with a roll call vote. Starting with Ms. Lance,
Yes.
Mr. Brandon,
Yes.
Mr. Pia,
Yes.
Ms. D'Angelo Powers,
No.
Mr. Cormier,
No.
Mr. Henrik,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Carol Fabian,
No.
and the chair votes yes. The motion passes 7-3. If there are no other discussion or comments, we are going to adjourn this meeting. Can I take a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Henrik and seconded by Mr. O'Brien. Our next finance meeting is scheduled for the 13th of March at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, everybody.